Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I would like to welcome you all for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's online Bhagavatam discourse. Thank you all for joining today. My humble obeisances to you all. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
I hope.
Hare.
Praise to Prabhupada.
So, Maharaj, we shall be continuing with Canto 2, Chapter 4 onwards. I shall share the screen. Here we go.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yad Kirtanam Yad Smaranam Yad Ikshanam Yad Vandanam Cha Yad Travanam Yad Arhanam Lokasya sadyo vidanoti kamasam tasmai subhadra sravase namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. Purport. The supreme form of religious performance to free oneself from all reactions of sin is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Kirtanam, or glorifying the Lord, can be performed in very many ways, such as remembering, visiting temples to see the deity, offering prayers in front of the Lord, and hearing recitations of glorification of the Lord mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Kirtanam can be performed both by singing the glories of the Lord in company with melodious music and by recitation of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. The devotees need not be disappointed in the physical absence of the Lord, though they may think of not being associated with Him. The devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc., either all or some of them or even one of them, can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by discharging the transcendental loving service of the Lord in the above manner. Even the very sound of the holy name of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. We must know definitely that the Lord is present wherever such pure transcendental service is performed. And thus the performer of the offenseless kirtanam has positive association with the Lord. Similarly, remembrance and prayers also can give us the desired result if they are properly done under the expert guidance. One should not concoct the forms of devotional service. One may worship the form of the Lord in the temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or a church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of sins, provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly in expectation of getting free from the reactions by worshiping in the temple, by offering prayers in the church. This mentality of committing sins willfully on the strength of devotional service is called namno bala yasya hi papa buddhi, and is the greatest offense in the discharge of devotional service. Hearing, therefore, is essential in order to keep oneself strictly on guard against such pitfalls of sins, and in order to give special stress to the hearing process, the Goswami invokes all auspicious fortune in this matter. Magyan Timidandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimakte Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pasyatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhupe Bachatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, some of the 9 processes of bhakti, the angas by which one can perform devotional service are mentioned here. And they connect one with the Lord through the proper execution of these 9 processes, or any one of them as mentioned here. And it says in order to get special stress, one has to follow the hearing process. So in order to chant, one has to hear. In order to remember, serve, worship, pray, or develop attachment to the Lord, one has to hear. Hearing is the foundation by which all of the other processes develop nicely. And special stress is given to hearing in order to keep one free from the pitfalls that come in the process of devotional service. Those who hear carefully, hearing is the most important in terms of keeping one fixed in the process of devotional service. Therefore, we should not only hear, but we should hear regularly. Hearing about the Lord or hearing about the process by which the Lord is worshipped is also a process of hearing. So those who are fixed in devotional service, they like to hear. Srila Prabhupada used the example of himself when one of his godbrothers had nominated him or suggested to his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, that Abhay, Prabhupada's name was Abhay, get initiated. Bhakti Siddhanta immediately responded, "Yes, I have noted him. He likes to hear." So this is a special feature of those who are serious in the process of devotional service. And to hear properly, one has to hear with what we say rapt attention, that attention that is not deviated by the mind. The mind is chanchala, the mind will flicker. Therefore, in the hearing process, one has to rivet or fix the mind on the sound vibration. Concentrate carefully on the sound and also think of what is being said as it's being said. We shouldn't just be hearing in one ear and out the other ear, or really it's just not actually hearing, it's just the sound vibration. It catches the ear, but it doesn't go any farther than that. So one should hear and think about what one is hearing as they're hearing. And try not to filter it through one's own ideas of what it means. In other words, accept it as it is and think about it. And then one should practice that very carefully. The mind wanders, bring it back. Krishna says, Chanchalahi mana Krishna, pramati balabandridha, tasyaham nigamam maye, vayuridam saduskaram. This is spoken by Arjuna. Arjuna is saying, you're asking me to control the mind, but I think you're asking me to control the wind. It's unsteady. It is very powerful. It is flickering, moving this way and that way. This is the nature of the mind. The mind is always moving. So we have to catch the mind through the sound vibration and concentrate that mind on the sound vibration and activate the intelligence to the process of understanding what we hear. And when understanding is there, then realizations will come. Or even if realizations don't come by the hearing process, one will get questions regarding what they hear. So sometimes we say that if you're hearing and you don't get questions or realizations, that means you weren't hearing. One has to hear and get questions, or at least realize the knowledge that what is being said, one accepts it automatically and understands it to be correct. That is the hearing process. Another point that is being mentioned in this verse is that one should be careful not to use the mercy of the holy name to nullify one's sinful reactions that are committed willfully. If somehow one slips in the process of devotional service by circumstance, one can simply get up again and pick up and chant the holy names of the Lord. If one somehow thinks that this process of chanting will relieve me of all sinful activities, therefore it doesn't matter if I commit some certain activities which are against the process of bhakti, then I can get relief of the reactions simply by chanting. That is called nam no bala yasya hi papa buddhi. It says here, it's the greatest offense. It's the seventh offense to the chanting of the holy name. So one should be diligent to follow the process as given and not try to curtail the process by doing material activities or sinful activities with the idea of getting free from the reactions of these sinful activities. This type of mentality will not work because Krishna is the holy name himself. And if you try to trick Krishna by saying, well, I'll go out and have some illicit sex and take some intoxication. My friends are coming tonight. And therefore, tomorrow then I'll chant and I'll be free from the reaction. No, you won't be free from the reactions. In fact, you'll go down even further in that type of mentality. So one has to follow the process as given and avoid the offenses like that. And even if one slips accidentally, there are accidental slips, or there's slips that are coming by just the fact that one is ignorant, then one can get back up again and again chant the holy names of the Lord and be free from the reactions. But one should not do it willingly. So that is mentioned here. Kirtanam is mentioned here in different ways, how to glorify the Lord in different ways. Even visiting temples to see the deity falls under the process of kirtanam, offering prayers, reciting the glories of the Lord as mentioned by the great souls and within the scriptures itself. And of course, kirtanam means to engage in Harinam Sankirtan, singing and dancing nice melodious songs in glorification of the holy name, in glorification of the Lord. This is kirtan. This is something that is the foundation by which we make spiritual progress. Those who take the kirtanam very seriously can purify themselves very quickly. Kirtanam is the fast track in terms of gaining spiritual merits and purifying the consciousness and tasting the happiness of devotional service. Kirtanam is there. And when devotees are cooperating in kirtan, that means singing and dancing together in a unified way, it becomes very, very spiritually uplifting. Okay, so these are some of the things that are there. But basically, this verse is really important. Sukadeva Goswami wants to emphasize how one can associate with the Lord through the process of bhakti. Ikshanam is not defined here, but if you go to the word for word, and go to the word for word in the beginning here, ikshanam, it's an interesting one. Where is it? Audience. This is in giving audience to the Lord. That means we know that as taking darshan of the Lord, standing before the Lord and gazing at his transcendental qualities, his forms, his transcendental attire, that kind. That's actually a form of meditation upon the Lord, like that. If it's done in the right consciousness, the right consciousness is in the mood of serving the Lord. Although there is no service in ikshanam, it leads ultimately to service. And so this ikshanam is very nice. Devotees like to come to the temple and see and simply use their time to gaze at the transcendental form of the Lord, which is purifying to the heart, to the mind, and to the eyes, of course. So that's one of the process that we should practice. Come to see the Lord. Of course, how much can we see of the Lord? That depends on the quality of our purification. The more we are purified, the more Krishna reveals himself through his darshan of his beautiful transcendental form, like that. So that's also nice. Worshipping, hearing about, offering prayers, glorifying, remembering, these are all processes. Devotional service is not limited. There's different ways one can purify themselves and taste the sweetness of devotional service by these different processes of devotional service. And the essential one is to hear nicely. Hearing about the Lord inspires all of the other 8 processes to develop. Hearing about the Lord also is a process in itself. Sukadev Goswami spoke this Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, as we are hearing now. And Maharaj Parikshit heard for 7 full days, and after 7 days, he became fully self-realized. He became free from any bodily conception of life, came to his position as eternal servant of the Lord, and he had realized God through the process of hearing. So this hearing is very powerful. So reading is hearing, hearing is hearing, like that. So the hearing process must go on, because this, more than anything, of course, chanting is so important and cannot be sidelined or neglected, but hearing is the foundation by which everything else develops nicely. So practice the process of hearing and learn how to hear. To hear is simply not to be there in the sound, within the sound vibration, but connect one's consciousness to that sound and think about what one is hearing. And that awakens the knowledge in a realized way. And it also inspires questions that lead to further knowledge. So this hearing process is very important. That's why it's mentioned first. Shravanam is hearing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, like that. Hearing is always giving preference as the foundation for the development of all the other process, and of course it is a process in itself. Because if we don't hear about Krishna enough or about devotional service, we'll be hearing about things in the material world, about the, what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on in the political arena, what's going on with the neighbors, what's going on. So we have to hear. This process is there. People like to hear, and they always gain some knowledge through hearing. But the knowledge in the material world simply drags the consciousness down within the 3 modes of material nature. So one should hear about Krishna, or about those who are serving Krishna, and about the process of serving Krishna, bhakti yoga itself. So Hear regularly. This is the most important. And you'll gain all knowledge through the process of hearing. Okay, we can stop here and open it up.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, dear devotees, I would appreciate if it's possible for you to turn on your cameras to make it most personal and interactive session. You can raise your, ask a question raising your hand, or put your question in the chat window. I can read it on your behalf if you are not able to do so. Thank you. Maharaj, whilst the devotees contemplate, I have a question. Prabhupada, okay, maybe we can have Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to all of the Vaishnavas. Very much. Are there any recommended practices or exercises that one should do to increase their power of hearing? Say perhaps you're going to hear a class and you think, I really want to hear nicely for this class. Is there something you can do before the class that will prep your hearing?
Well, the things that increase the quality of hearing is regulating our bodily activities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. If these things are not regulated, the mind cannot stay so fixed on the hearing process. That's mentioned. Says, the Prabhupada uses the word within the Bhagavatam in the first canto, third chapter, verse 44, where he says, one should hear with rapt, R-A-P-T, R-A-F-T, rapt attention. R-A-F-T, rapt attention. That means complete and full attention. So, but he says one cannot hear with rapt attention unless one is pure in mind. And one cannot be pure in mind unless they're pure in action. And one cannot be pure in action unless they're pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. In other words, regulating the bodily activities. But then Prabhupada gives the concessionary statement by saying, but just try to hear. That's all. So when you're listening, you put your concentration on what is being said. The mind has a tendency to wander. It's called chanchala. Chanchala means flickering, wandering. Can't stay in one place. You can see that now. I'm speaking. How many times has your mind gone to something else since the class started? So, yeah, so that's the nature of the mind. It keeps going this way and that way. But if you seriously focus, rivet your attention on the sound and listen carefully, you pick up not only what is being said, but you also pick up the mood by which these words are coming, which gives the complete process of hearing. So one has to simply focus that mind like that. Just force the mind to hear. And when it catches the hearing process, then it becomes natural to hear. Like I was with one very senior devotee today, and he was talking, and I was listening. And he spoke most of the time, and I just listened. But then I got so absorbed in what he was saying, it was like there was nothing else going on. And I was listening to every word to catch the nectar that was coming. And it became so complete that, I practically remember everything that was said. So when you hear nicely, you also remember nicely. But you have to force that mind to, connect with that sound vibration. Just like when we chant japa, the mind will also move this way and that way. But you have to practice the hearing process. So hear, but practice. Listen carefully. When the thing is, what you see, one of the problems that we have, and it's due to this social environment we live in, is that within the social environment there are so many sounds that are not very pleasant, and some of them are just very disturbing. So what happens is the mind has a tendency to block out these things. And we cut down the hearing process as a means of protection from sounds that are not needed or unpleasant. And then we sort of train the mind to shut down when it comes to the hearing process. And then what happens when we really have to hear something that is important, we have to get beyond the shutdown mode and open up very carefully to that sound vibration. So we're conditioned to protect ourselves from inordinate sounds that go all around, just like there's construction all around in your house and the noise is coming through the window. You know, after some time, you actually block it out and you don't even notice it's going on, although it is. As soon as you turn your attention to it again, then you hear it. So, but we shouldn't be like that when it comes to transcendental sound vibration. We have to somehow or other become very receptive to that sound, and that takes practice. So learn how to hear. And those who do counseling, listening to others in order to help them overcome difficulties, they have to do emphatic listening. Try to understand what's behind the sound, like that, not just the sound itself. So the more we practice hearing, the more we can also get a clear understanding of what is being said. So it's a process of practice. And as the Bhagavatam says, if you regulate your eating, sleeping, mating, those in grihastha life, and defending, then the hearing process becomes accentuated and becomes sharpened. But if we don't regulate the bodily activities, that will interfere with the hearing process also. So all of it, hearing is not so easy. Something you have to learn how to do.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. Rasa Vilasini, Radha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and some devotees. Maharaj, I had a question like, as you said that we should rely slowly on our mind to understand things. And I have been listening to Prabhupada's lecture and sometimes I realize certain points deeply. For example, Prabhupada says that people are living like animals. But I realize that we are even more fallen than animals. For instances, which we think about the example of a rice bag, every animal takes only its share, but human who think of the future and take the entire bag. This shows that we work harder than animals and remain engaged in satisfying our senses. So, Guru Maharaj, my point is, when we realize something, uh, we should ask our spiritual master to confirm it, right, Maharaj, if what we are realizing is correct or not.
That would help. Yeah. 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 That's part of the process. Hearing, understanding, and also confirming through authority. We can do it also through scripture, but we can do it directly through the spiritual master or someone who is also well versed in the knowledge of the practice of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Because the mind may reinterpret it in a different way. So when Prabhupada says we're like animals, and he also says we're less than animals because animals are acting according to their nature. And if the humans simply live according to the animals, they're not acting according to their nature. So the animals are normal. We are below our nature when we make the bodily activities the goal of life, how to accentuate and find more pleasure in the things that eating as much as we can, chasing after different varieties of tastes in order to satisfy the tongue, sleeping whenever we want, mating outside of marriage, it's sinful. Inside of marriage, it has to be regulated accordingly. And if it's not done like that, then even the animals follow a certain process. Defending means to defend your eating, sleeping, and mating, making big arrangements so somehow or other you can continue with your eating, sleeping, and mating. That's the defending process. So all of these things are there. That's why when Prabhupada makes these statements, they're not just some exaggerations or some way to condemn. It isn't. It's just an honest approval, honest comparison. Animals live like animals, and humans live like animals. So who's better? When the humans live like humans, then they're superior to the animals.
Yes. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Great. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Maharaj, I have a question. Prabhupada writes in the purports that songs about Krishna's pastime should be heard. Now we find that in many parts of India there are folk songs. Nobody knows the origin of them, but there are folk songs which are describing pastimes of Krishna as a baby in a Ras Leela or different pastimes. But nobody knows who's written those songs, but they have been sung for generations. So, can you hear those songs? Or that's the question, Maharaj.
Well, if what is being said in the songs aligns with Shastra, yeah. If it doesn't align with Guru, Shadhu, and Shastra, then it shouldn't, it may be somebody's idea, that's all.
Okay, Maharaj.
Check and see.
Yes.
Don't just sing the songs because it has a nice melody. Know the words also.
Yes, Maharaj. And Maharaj, another question is Prabhupada is also writing that you pray, you offer your prayers, and then he goes on to say that a Christian and a Muslim can pray to an impersonal form as well. So the question is, if one is a devout Christian and a Muslim, and they are following the tenets as it is given in the Bible or the Quran, how will they progress to the highest perfection of Radha and Krishna in the sublime rasa of conjugal love?
They're not interested in that. It's not part of their Shastra. You have to understand there's different levels of spiritual realization. So if they follow, they can attain their level, their highest level of spiritual realization. But if you use these as an example, a lot of them don't have personal understandings or personal conception of the nature of God.
Mm.
They say that God is a person, but they have no idea of what he looks like or what he does. At least there's not much of that. There's some of it in the Shastras, but not a lot. So what Prabhupada said, if they follow strictly according to their own scriptures, they can attain to the goal. So the Christians are trying for heaven, and I don't know what is the goal of the other traditions. A lot of the traditions talk about salvation as the goal. That means liberation.
So Maharaj,
So
yeah,
we
sorry.
shouldn't worry about what the other traditions do. As if they're glorifying the Lord and they're not finding fault with other traditions, then they can be accepted as, authorized. If they criticize other traditions, that means they don't know their own tradition.
Mm. And
So we
Maharaj,
don't criticize. Prabhupada would say there is the unabridged dictionary and there's the abridged dictionary. Both are dictionaries.
so Maharaj, then if they can only attain to their levels of realization as it is preached or professed, then the only chance for them to progress further is by Ajnana Sukriti, serving a devotee, or through causeless mercy of a devotee.
Prabhupada also said that those who worship Christ in the Christian tradition perfectly, they attain to the planet of Christ, which is above the material world but not into the spiritual world. And from there, Christ will teach them higher knowledge. As he said to his disciples, followers, there's so much more I could tell you, but you are not qualified to understand. Christ was speaking to, who was he speaking to? Fishermen, ordinary people who didn't have, education, but had devotion. So they can realize God as in the mood of serving God and be developing affection for God. But therefore, to the higher mellows. Now, if you go to, I can talk a little bit about. I can talk about Christianity because I was brought up in it. There's a part of Christianity called the Song of Solomon. And there it talks about Madhurya Ras and the Song of Solomon. So some Christians say they want to, especially the nuns, they want to become the bride of Christ, like that. So there is some indication of these rasas in the Christian tradition, at least. I don't know enough about the other traditions to say anything. But who follows them? Who's actually following those higher things? So there's different levels of Christianity also. Different attainments, higher attainments of Christianity. Study Christianity, you'll see that things go much higher than what they're practicing today. They go into some of the Old Testament But now they have so many versions of Christianity that who's actually, following Christ according to how Christ wanted to be followed. So this is not but it says one should not find fault with other religious traditions. That's an offense if we do that. We accept them on the level that they are practicing, and that's all.
Yes, Maharaj, this is clear and instructive. Thank you very much. We have got 3 questions in on the chat, or 4. So I shall read one by one. This is from Dheeraj Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. All glory to you, Gurudev. Among all the process of practicing bhakti, should we give priority to chanting, hearing, or association, or should we practice all in the same way?
Yeah, they're connected. Hearing leads to chanting, and the inspiration for hearing and chanting is the association of devotees. They're connected. Hard to continue hearing chanting without taking quality association with devotees. One moment's association with a pure devotee can purify one and inspire one in the process of pure devotional service.
Thank you, Maharaj, for that clarification. We have a question from Bhakta Corner. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. In regards to our wandering mind when hearing, I notice that my mind can go quickly to criticism when I'm listening to other speak, especially other devotees, and even criticism towards myself when chanting. Though I do not speak most of this criticism, they still fluctuate around my mind. I believe I'm correct to think that this affects my actual hearing of what is being said and not helping my Krishna consciousness. What are some ways to help decrease this natural criticism that seems to pop up so quickly?
Well, try to understand what is this nature of this, this critical thing that comes up. Where is it coming from? There is a thing called using your intelligence, and the intelligence means to discriminate. So discrimination is important, but criticism may result from discrimination that is misapplied. So when these thoughts come up, check to see if they're in line with the teachings of the spiritual master and the scriptures. But if they're just mean-spirited, then they should be rejected. I hear something, but I'm not sure it's actually correct. So let me understand. Whether it's correct or not. And if I evaluated that it's not correct, then I can reject it. But when you're chanting, you should be simply focusing on the sound vibration. And these thoughts of the mind during the time of chanting should be overshadowed by the sound vibration. Push out the thoughts of the mind by connecting oneself more and more with the sound vibration. Don't focus on these things while you're chanting. It's just, that's inattentive chanting. Dealing with the mind is very subtle and very, very hard to deal with. But if you practice, you can learn how to use your mind in the right way instead of being used by your mind.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. A question from Rishabh Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev and Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisances. Is a general question. Does guru or authority also spiritually grow if the disciple or subordinates spiritually advance under their guidance?
Yeah, he can grow by his own efforts. It's not that the spiritual master becomes static and doesn't grow anymore. He grows. He can. He should. Hopefully. But if he has disciples who are humble and eager to serve and follow and are free from criticism, and then he considers himself very fortunate. And these disciples give good energy to the spiritual master. A useless disciple or a disobedient disciple takes away the energy of the spiritual master because he has to deal with that. So yeah, that's why a spiritual master not only tries to elevate his disciples and for their own benefit, but he also benefits. Yeah. So the qualities that are really that inspire the spiritual master when he sees it: an eagerness for service, a humble attitude, and a propensity to avoid criticizing others. These things are very attractive and to the spiritual master. Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, there's a comment. Radha Vinodini Mataji, raised your hands. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. I would have a question about when sometimes reading is difficult or hearing is difficult, and so many times I hear it from devotees that we just have to control the mind, and usually it's meant in a suppressing way that we have to force the mind to read or hear. And I was wondering if it's possible to use another method to make hearing or reading more enjoyable for the mind and use the two together, because maybe it's more efficient. But I was wondering, maybe it's so selfish and it spoils the mood of the service mood in hearing. So can you clarify this topic?
Well, the mind should be put in a receptive mode. And that's up to you to do that. If you're tired, the mind will have a tendency to wander. So you should know that if you're a little tired, you'll have to make an effort, greater effort to hear. If you are, I don't know. And reading should be scheduled at certain times to maximize the quality of our hearing. That'll also help. Suppressing the mind, he can only do that up to a certain point. because if the mind is strong and you try to suppress it, it may also jump and just go somewhere else automatically. Krishna explains in controlling the mind, it's like riding a horse. This is Krishna speaking. It's in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, where he says that when you ride a horse, you have to direct the horse in the direction you want it to go. So the reins of the horse are your directing force. So if you pull the reins too hard, the horse will jump. And if you don't hold the reins tight enough, the horse will go in whatever direction it goes. So in the same way, the mind has to find that medium by which you can hear nicely, but it's not like you're forcing it, at least to a degree where it just rebels.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And can we use maybe some tactics like picking which book we would like to read? Like there are some which are easier to read, or some others which are not, or reading together with others, like this.
Therefore it's recommended at night, don't read very, just before you take rest, very deep philosophical teachings, unless you really want to go to sleep. Then if you can read things you can't understand before you go to sleep, you'll fall asleep faster. Those who have insomnia,
For me, it's somehow, sorry.
Yeah, those who have insomnia should read books they can't understand before they go to sleep. And that'll put them to sleep.
Yeah, but somehow for me it works just the opposite, because when I read something philosophical, then I can just think about it like like for hours.
Well, if you understand it. But
Yeah.
that's why Prabhupada used to say hot milk and Krishna book before taking rest. Yeah. I like to read about Srila Prabhupada in the evening time before I take rest. Pastimes of Prabhupada written by Prabhupada's devotees.
Oh, yeah, they are very sweet.
Yeah, and they're interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. We have an interesting question, Maharaj, on the chat from Rishabh Prabhu. Lately, Catholic Christians have well, the recent philosophy of Catholic Christianity is that their guru, Jesus, Jesus, is God himself, which is also on the level of Sai Baba followers. Isn't our duty to expose these things to the public? Does that contradict with the principles of not finding faults in other religions?
Well, Jesus is God and he's not God. The guru should be seen and worshipped as God, but he knows he is not God. Jesus Christ is the perfect representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he can be worshipped on the same level as the Supreme Lord. But to say he's God, Christ never said he was God. And anyway, nobody can kill God anyway. They tried to kill him. It's not possible. Of course, he wasn't killed if you know the actual story. But don't worry about exposing them. Just preach Krishna consciousness. You waste your time with that stuff. It's just a diversion in our Krishna consciousness to try to correct people in other traditions. Just go on with your own Krishna consciousness.
Gurudev, what if they attack us? Because many times they're really aggressive on the streets, and we are trying to preach to someone, and they forcibly come and start preaching their own gospel, and I'm like,
Yeah,
get up.
Prabhupada dealt with Christians on one level. He said, God, Christ said, "Thou shalt not kill." That's the Ten Commandments. So, are you eating meat or not? And if they're eating meat, they're violating Christianity. That's the thing that Prabhupada, when he discussed with many priests and others, he always brought up the topic of meat eating. Thou shalt not kill. He said that's one of the main commandments. So they say, well, I'm not killing, but you're sanctioning killing in order for you to, enjoy slaughtered food. So you're actually, what's the word? You're actually sanctioning killing by eating meat. That's the one that Prabhupada mostly dealt with. So if they attack you, ask them, are you eating meat or not? If they say yes, then why are you killing? So if you say you say you're a Christian, but you're killing.
They have a real philosophy. They're saying that it's not a sin what gets inside, it's a sin what gets out.
What is that supposed to mean?
Like you can eat and you can eat, drink, marry, but you shouldn't, I don't know, swear something nonsense.
Oh, you shouldn't commit offenses to others, but you can commit offense to yourself, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like nonsense. It's just full of nonsense, and then they're just trying to aggressively force you to believe in their nonsense, and you're like, just get out of my way, just do your thing, and don't bother me. And anyway,
Prabhupada had a disciple. His name was, what was his name? Paranjana, I think his name was. And he went to biblical school. He studied Christianity. Prabhupada discussed a lot of things with him. There's one room conversation. It's for an hour. Prabhupada talks all about Christianity. You want to learn from that. But Prabhupada said to challenge them and say, what is the actual goal of your spiritual practice?
they're really ridiculous. In one of the biggest things that like innocent Christians, which are actually they just want to know what's the difference between the Christian philosophy and Vedas. Also, they ask me, how do you see evil? And Jesus give like meaning to suffering. And I'm like, evil and good and evil, that's a materialistic thing, It's still on the level of matter. So it's like these dualities of good and evil, and focusing yourself on evil. It's like it's really tamastic.
Evil is simply the absence of good. That's all. Darkness is the absence of light. Evil is the absence of good. That's all. Evil has no substance of its own. It's just the absence of what should be. That's evil or sin. Mm-hmm. Cold is the absence of heat.
Yeah. One thing that we say, funny thing to them, they say like Christ died for your sin. I said, oh, my spiritual master initiated me. He took all my sins and my karma, and he's still alive. So maybe he's better than me. Just saying.
Yeah, well, when Christ died for your sins, then you ask him, why do you keep on sinning then?
Yeah, exactly.
That means you're crucifying your spiritual master over and over again. stop sinning.
Thank you, Maharaj.
There's a nice discussion on Christianity. I'll send you the reference. I have to look for it, but I haven't.
Yes,
True,
please.
they even say that Christ himself drank the blood. So how can you tell us that Christ was not into eating non-veg? Was this? I'm not too sure of Christianity, but was it true?
Well, when Christ was in the desert with his followers, they had nothing to eat.
Hmm.
So he performed a miracle, and he had bread, and he brought about bread and fish, so people could eat.
Hmm.
Then people say that Lord Ramachandra ate meat, but
Hmm.
he's the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada would say, Christ, Ramachandra, Tejo Samrajo Sire. You want to imitate the great souls, then you'll fall down.
Hmm.
Prabhupada said Ramchandra could eat the whole world. He's God. Christ is also a pure soul.
Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hari Hari. Anybody wants that discussion on Christianity, just send an email to our Dinanath Gauranga. I'll send him, and then he'll send it to you. Anybody interested? Is anybody interested? It's a nice discussion.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I'll send my email address. Dinanath.
Yeah, I'll send everything to Dinanath Gauranga directly, and he can distribute it to whoever writes to him. Make your email available.
Yes, Maharaj.
Just post it, yeah.
Maharaj, there's one clarification from Scarlett Mataji, if I may ask. She's asking that there is a branch of Christianity that preaches the Supreme Lord's name is Jehovah. May I humbly ask, is this right?
Well, God has many names. What is the meaning of Jehovah? Each of the names have a meaning. Like when you say, they say God. When you say Christ, you say the Anointed One. You say Krishna, you say he who tracks everyone. All of the names have meanings. Yahweh, Jehovah, like that. What does Jehovah mean? I don't know. These are usually qualities of the Supreme Lord, or pastimes of the Supreme Lord, or references about the Supreme Lord in relationship to his pure devotees. Krishna is Nanda Nandana, Yasoda Nandana, like that. So God has many names, but they all refer to his pastimes, his devotees, his qualities.
Okay.
Yeah, well, maybe we can stop here because
Thank you,
I
Maharaj.
have to depart in a few minutes to go on to the next thing, and we'll see you all tomorrow on Tuesday for a continuation of Srimad Bhagavatam. I wanted to mention one thing that I was reading about. I was reading about the benefits of retreats in other words, large gatherings of devotees that come together for spiritual seminar, practice, sangha like that. It says that these retreats really create such a holistic development of the spiritual progress of those who attend. Everything is there within these retreats when we go to associate with devotees. So we're having a retreat coming up here in Gita and Govardhan Echo Village. Then there's the retreat in France coming up in the beginning of April. So those who don't come to these retreats, you're really losing out on a great opportunity for spiritual progress. These things are really powerful and they are really uplifting, and they bring devotees together nicely around hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord and performing devotional activities. So yeah, I'll post some of the statements on the conference when I again locate them. I know where they are. I just have to, type them up. So please see the benefit of coming to these retreats. They're so spiritually powerful.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, so I have to stop there because I have a program in 10 minutes.
Okay, so we'll just conclude. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. भक्तवृंद की जय, श्रील की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद
की जय।
Hare Krishna.